The time is 7:30. I call the July 16th meeting of Yardley Borough Council to order. Please stand for the pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we begin roll call, Councilperson Stump has asked to lead us in a moment of silence this evening.
So I would like to lead us in a moment of silence in remembrance of the 7 victims that were killed in the flash floods a year ago yesterday. I attended the memorial service in Washington Crossing. It was quite moving, but as a borough, I wanted us to keep in our memory, even though they weren't borough residents, they were residents of our larger community. Enzo DePirio, Linda DePirio, Susan Barnhart, Yuko Love, Katie Seeley, and her 2 my daughter is now the age that Maddie Shields is, and Conrad Shields. So if we could just take a moment of silence to honor their memory. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilperson Stump. Roll call, please, Manager Johnson.
Mr. Stump.
Present.
Mr. Carlson.
Here.
Ms. Thompson. Ms. Siegel-Morse. Ms. Scherer.
Present.
Mr. Applebaum.
Here.
And Mr. Feiner.
He looks confused.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Next is community announcements. This is the portion of the meeting where members of council, mayor, community can tell us about upcoming events or make an announcement about anything they'd like in the community. This is separate from public comment. I do have one letter that I'd like to read that we received. It's from Nancy Finn of 131 North Main Street. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Yardley Borough Council and members of the community responsible for the refurbishment of the bridge over the canal at North Main Street. I moved to the borough in 2010 and always enjoyed walking along the canal. In 2018, I became an amputee and the area was no longer accessible to me. However, with the continued improvement of the access path as well as the reconstruction of the bridge, I can once again enjoy the beauty of the canal. I appreciate the attention to details for those of us in the community who are differently abled. The non-skid ramp and handrails now provide easy access to not only me, but parents with strollers, cyclists, etc. Thank you for making this beautiful area of the borough available to me once again. Sincerely, Nancy. Any other community announcements this evening? From council? Mayor Harding?
Thank you.
Community announcements from the public? Hearing none, we will move on to public comment. This is the portion of the meeting where members of the community can approach, state their name and address, and address items not on the agenda. We ask that you keep your remarks to 3 minutes per item. Any public comment this evening? Sure, please. Welcome.
3 minutes. Okay, so I just typed it out a little bit. So
Sure.
Okay. Okay. Hi.
Hi.
I'm Hannah Schock. My husband and I have owned the Twin at 1416 West College Ave for about a decade now. I just wanted to come in and voice my support for Borough Council and the short-term rental ordinance that I hear you guys are working on. So when we bought our house, this was going back like over a decade, so we planned to live in one side and fix up the other, and then that other side that we fixed up would become like an Airbnb. Well, after one neighbor raised some displeasure, the borough manager at the time categorized us as like a boarding house, hotel type situation and sent the cease and desist letter. So as a result, to avoid like a legal battle and all of those negative vibes, we just agreed to rent for periods of 30 days or more. So we've been doing that for about a decade. Over the years, it would have been nice to have the ability to accept shorter-term guests now and then. Most of them are people who have close ties to the community, who are just looking to come into town for a week for, let's say, weddings, graduations, milestone birthdays, holidays, but unfortunately, we held fast to the 30-day guidelines and did not accept those type of bookings. So anyway, the ordinance that you guys are working on, which clearly differentiates short-term rentals from hotels and boarding house situations, and then outlines specific rules and regulations. I just wanted to say I feel like it's a long time coming. I think it's going to provide some clarity, fairness to property owners and their neighbors. And yeah, so if anyone ever needs, would like to reach out for questions or to discuss anything further as this is being drafted, I'm happy to be a subject matter expert since we probably have been at the general, in the general fields for the longest in the borough. So yeah, that's it. Thank you very much. There was one other thing I wanted to say good job on, but I forgot. But
Maybe it'll come to you. Thank you for coming this evening. So I have your emails here for the letter that you submitted to Gmail account. So we'll invite you personally for the hearings that we have following the advertisement of the new ordinance, whenever that may be.
cool. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other public comment this evening? Hello, welcome.
Hi, Paula. Hello. Hi, everybody. These aren't my glasses. I'm hoping I can see. Thank you for this moment to share. My name is Heather Brinkworth. I live at 146 South Main Street in the home that has been in my family since 1965. My grandmother, Bill and Betty Brinkworth, settled here in 1951. I'm sorry. And on my mother's side, my grandparents settled on River Road.
No problem. Take all the time you need.
I rent a 400 square foot apartment from my mother in her house at 146 South Main Street. I have been there for about 5 years, and over the course of 5 years, there have been nothing but tenants who don't pay, and tenants with loud trucks, tenants with kids bringing detritus home. So I recommended to my mother only 2.5 months ago, let's Airbnb. There have been several Airbnbs, and my neighbors have been Airbnb for several years. I've never seen any complaints. I've never had any complaints about them, Airbnb. So I had searched through all the ordinances. I couldn't find anything about Airbnb, so I just went with it. 2.5 months later, I was sent a letter that I have to shut down. Okay, so I'm not really sure what your whys are. From the hearsay that I've heard is somebody who is known to complain all the time about something complained, and that's what started this. But I don't really know, and I don't know what your whys are. From what I understand in the last minute notes, you didn't want party houses, which is understandable, but nobody is coming to Yardley to party, unless it's to my personal house. Maybe some bachelorettes, hey, their family lives right down the street. They want to be close to their family when they're getting drunk at the vault. Who's to blame them? Their parents have been paying taxes here for a long time. Why can't they get drunk at the vault and party? what's the big deal? Once in a while, but 99.9% of people aren't coming to party, and I have statistics to prove that. Excess Airbnbs, and that's awesome. Who wants a lot of Airbnbs here? No. And this is something really important to be aware of, because BlackRock, if they find out how cute this little town is, BlackRock's going to come in and scoop everything up. I don't want that. I'm sure you don't want that. BlackRock, JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, they're coming for our town. They just haven't found it yet. So I appreciate you being considerate about that. So just a couple statistics. I only ran an Airbnb for 2.5 months. I really liked it. It was hard work. I'm not afraid of hard work. I'm an artist, and what comes with being an artist isn't a lot of money, but it is a lot of hard work. And I am on my hands and knees 2-3 times a week cleaning those floors in that house, and I like it. It makes me feel good that somebody isn't going to gyp me from paying rent. It makes me feel good that that tenant isn't going to cut my winter red twig dogwoods down like the last one did. So I've had a total of 123 guests. On an average, my guests have stayed, and I have a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house. On an average, my guests have stayed 4.25 nights per week. Only 2 times in 2.5 months did somebody stay 1 night. I don't want them to stay 1 night. That's not where I make my money. The only option they get to stay 1 night is Wednesday through Thursday. Nobody's going to make any money renting out 1 night a week. The majority stayed 2 nights. I've had a couple guests stay 1 week, 2 weeks. They're here visiting Sesame Place. They're here visiting their families, Princeton graduation, Princeton alumni, going to Princeton alumni parties, not here, but in Princeton. Some really great families from Connecticut, a lot of people from Connecticut, wonderful families, little kids, happy little families. It's been an honor to host these people. So I totaled up my sales for 3 months. I've paid about $300 a month to Bucks County taxes. That's $3,600 a year for 1 property. And that's just 2.5 months. That's just getting started. I've also calculated the food, what people would pay. If 123 guests that stayed for an average of 4.5 nights, if they ate 2 meals in town, that's $4,000 a month that they're spending at our eateries, which also equates to about $3,000 a year in food and beverage tax. So I've looked over what you guys have going towards the ordinance, and I see your ideas, and I'm really thankful that you're doing this job. Personally, I don't like it. I'm under severe financial hardships right now. My mother has bone cancer. I don't know how I'll pay the taxes to keep that house without this income. I want to keep that house. It's been in my family. It should be mine. So I'm asking, and you do a great job. You really do. Because this town with a couple $100 billion would look like Charleston, South Carolina. It's gorgeous here. And it's because you guys set the rules. You think ahead. You think with beauty. And I appreciate that. Because this town is beautiful because you do a good job. So I'm asking, when you rethink your plan, just keep in mind about BlackRock and JP Morgan. Keep in mind that there's little people like me. I don't get to own the house. I'm missing one thing. I can't operate a bed and breakfast because my mom owns it. She can't live there. Think about the Bank of America's owning the property, and I'm asking, when you think about writing this ordinance, that you think about allowing 365 days a year. It gives me a job. It gives me an extra income. If I can only rent for 90 days, I might as well just take the loss on the rental income I get.
Ms. Brinkworth, thank you so much. You far exceeded your 3 minutes. If you could just try to summarize in the next 30 seconds.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate your time. I'm sorry for taking you so much time. And I also ask that if there's any possibility that we could get some sort of grace period in between the time that you create the ordinance, so that the rest of us can continue to operate business. Thank you.
Thank you. And do we have contact details for you to invite? Okay, to invite you to the hearing as well? All right, great. Thank you. Any other public comment this evening?
Good evening. Ravi Rajan, 20 North Main Street.
Good evening.
It's come to my attention that Mr. Rutterow is planning on donating or transferring the property on Main Street to the township. And some of you may be aware that there's my pool house, part of my pool house, which is built in the 1960s, is on that property. So what I'm hoping is that we can have a variance where that property can exist and we won't have any title issues.
How does that property currently exist without any title issues? If, pardon my ignorance, do you know?
Chris is probably mayor, 1960s, right?
1969, so I just missed that curve.
So it was built the same way the parking lot it was built, where Kramer is. Things just happen in town. So it was built long before they were, I guess, oversight.
Okay. We'll look into that issue. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. Any other public comment this evening?
Hello.
Good evening.
My name is Joe Fender. I have a residence at 190 South Canal Street and also at 26 South Canal, and also a property in Yardley Commons. And my oldest daughter lives on Lincoln. Anyway, I'm here to address the issue of Airbnbs. Full disclosure, I own a property, 26 South Canal, which is at the very end of the Canal Street Grill parking lot. Probably the smallest house in all of Yardley Borough, perhaps with the exception of 114 and a half Main Street. I don't know. But anyway, I'm here to present, our experience with the Airbnb. We purchased this property a few years back from Camp Trillo, and we renovated the property, and it now serves as an Airbnb. It's 630 square feet. But I would argue that it's probably one of the best ambassadors to Yardley Borough going. We have a guest book to attest to that. We've had engagements, honeymoons, all kinds of events. And so because it's 630 square feet, it's never more than a romantic weekend or maybe a very young child going to Sesame Place. So I understand the concern about Airbnb and someone's suggestion that if you sold out a whole block to Airbnb, well, that's not the case. I don't live there. I don't think it's practical for four of us to live in 630 square feet. But It is part of our income. We have a partnership with the merchants in town. We have a great relationship with them. And anyway, I appreciate the opportunity to be part of the process to draft a new, a new program for the Airbnb. So, thank you.
One question, real quick.
Yep.
So your property on South Canal is in the commercial district, which my understanding is currently allowable as an Airbnb in the borough. Mr. Griffin, how will it work with the new proposals that we are moving through with respect to short-term rentals? Would those supersede what we currently have happening in the commercial district, or would that remain as it is on the books?
If it's an existing use, regardless of the change in ordinance, that use would still be grandfathered.
That was my understanding. So your existing property on South Canal can continue to operate as it complies with our current ordinances, and it would predate any ordinance that we pass for short-term rentals.
Okay.
Is that helpful, or?
That's very helpful.
Do you want to be regulated further? We can.
No.
We can talk about that, but, sure. Well, thank you for coming. We'll certainly
Thank you.
invite you to our talks about the.
I appreciate it. Thank you all.
All right, any other public comments this evening? Yeah. You can, just briefly, please.
Okay, it would just be a question.
Sure.
So I guess since we operate for a minimum of 30 days, would that be affected by the short term? Like, what would the definition, I guess, be? Would it be up to 30 days, stays at a time? Like,
I don't think we know yet. We're still
Okay.
in the drafting phase. Don, how is it currently drafted? What are the terms on number of nights? It's
The way it's
4 days,
currently
four
going
more days.
to be drafted is, it'll be, short-term rentals will be under 30 days.
under 30 days?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's basically the definition of what they are. The over 30 days is a
Different.
Sorry, I
kind of
misunderstood the
rental
question.
property.
Yeah.
So it'll be under that, and there may be, if there's owner occupied, it may be a minimum, may be as low as 1 or 2 days. And if it's not owner occupied, it may be a 3-day minimum, or, those are all things, we're going to structure it, and then we're going to talk through with input from,
Okay.
on what it should be, 1, 2, 3
Yeah,
for
I
this
wasn't sure,
category,
like,
that.
how much I should expect it to, like, affect
Yeah,
what
but-
we're doing, but I guess if we're already operating under that, then.
Yeah,
it'll be
yeah.
fine.
Short-term rental by definition is 0 to 30
Okay.
days.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, going once, going twice for public comment. Anything further? Thank you. Moving on to the consideration of the consent agenda dated July 16th, 2024. It includes approval of minutes dated June 18th, 2024, certificate of appropriateness 24-14-9, 9 South Main Street sign, consideration of FEMA-funded 93 North Delaware Ave elevation payment certificate number 4, and consideration of FEMA-funded 93 North Delaware Ave elevation payment certificate number 3. Does any member of council wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? Yes.
I would like to remove the minutes.
Thank you. Any other removal requests? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve items B through D as submitted?
So moved. Second.
Motion was made by Councilperson Siegel Morris, seconded by Councilperson Scherer. Discussion from council? Any discussion from the public? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously 7-0. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes dated June 18th, 2024?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Motion was made by Councilperson Siegel Morris, seconded by Councilperson Stump. Discussion from council?
Yes. At the very end of the minutes, where we did the votes about the sidewalk grants, it's incorrect and it has you down as a yes when you actually said no. So it should be a 4-3, and it's actually it's demonstrated as 5-2.
You are right. Thank you for pointing that out. So it's, Manager Johnson, it's on page 7 of the agenda packet. That Y should be an N. Any other changes or questions, comments, concerns on the minutes from council? From the public? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the minutes with that change, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye. Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously 7-0. Moving on to the police chief's report, we have Corporal Clark this evening. Welcome. Anything this evening?
Yeah, I'll go over the stats for June of this year. We had 663 calls for service, 7 parking tickets, 107 traffic citations, 5 other citations, 4 traffic accidents, 1 DUI arrest, and 4 arrests in total.
Thank you very much. You have before you for consideration the July 16th, 2024 finance report. Any issues or questions? Otherwise, it will be accepted as submitted. Manager Johnson, your report, please.
I'm going to give the June review. The PICO Phase 1 environmental assessment on the PICO lot has been completed and forwarded to our solicitor's office. The 2025 budget process has begun. The budget calendar is on the agenda for adoption tonight. Right to knows, we only received 4 for the month of June. All are closed. There's no current appeals at all. So far, only 2 right to knows for July, and both are closed as well. So we currently have a clear board. Zoning, we had 8 zoning applications received. No zoning hearing boards for the month of June or July. Building permits, a little slow this month, 6 for the month of June, which seems light to me. 9 UNOs, so properties are starting to be listed and sell. We had 7 trash certifications. Real estate transfer tax for the month of May, we received $3,797. For the month of June, we received $15,763. And that's my stats for June.
Thank you. I'd also like to point out that Manager Johnson attended the PSAB annual conference, and she was asked in her performance review when she goes to conferences to provide us with a summary along with action items where she'll apply this, the trainings to her job, and I think she did an excellent job submitting that in the packet. So please take a look if you haven't already.
I saw that, and it was a very nice report.
Thank you.
Very thorough. Thank you.
Thank you.
And would you like to go to the budget calendar now? Sure.
So in everybody's packet is the 2025 budget calendar. We have started the process, like I said already. Patty has already sent out the budget requests to all of council, all of our committees, all of our departments, police, zoning, building, everybody. So they are due back by August 2nd. Just real briefly, I'll go through some of the highlighted areas. We hope to finalize the budget in October. We'll have a presentation 11/6, which will be a regular council meeting. Is it 11/6 or it might be the 7th? I'm not 100% sure.
It says 6 on the calendar.
It does, but when's election day? I might have.
The 5th.
Because
Six is Wednesday.
So that's correct.
It is
We
correct,
moved to
okay, I
the
just
6th
wanted to double
Wednesday.
check. And then we're looking to do the final adoption and the tax levy ordinance not until December 17th, which will be the second meeting in December. So this is our budget calendar that we're presenting and hopes for council's approval and adoption.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to approve the budget calendar for 2025?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion was made by Councilperson Carlson, seconded by Councilperson Scherer. Any discussion from council?
I'd just like to reemphasize with everybody who's watching this, who's one of the people who had a request to submit budget proposals, to really hit that A2 deadline, because during August is when general government is going to do a lot of work to roll everything up and see where we are, even though obviously we don't get the budget totally done until October. So we don't want any September, October surprises. So please make sure everybody gets their stuff in the next couple of weeks. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from council? From the public, any questions? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 7-0, I think. Or did you say aye?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, thank you, Manager Johnson. Anything else?
No, ma'am.
Okay, engineers report, Mr. Foley.
Thank you. We've issued our engineer's report. It should be in your packet. Are there any questions? Otherwise, we can move to the two agenda items, if you would like.
Sounds good. Let's move on to those.
Okay. For the first item is the resolution 24-06 for the DCED MTF Dolington Road Sidewalk Extension Project. What we included within this packet is our engineer's estimate for the construction of that project for $278,712. Just to give you a summary, is the project includes a 5-foot wide sidewalk along the westerly portion of North Main Street at the to-be-constructed ADA ramp as part of the North Main Street Phase 3 project. We'll continue that 5-foot wide sidewalk along the south side of Dolington Road and connect that to the existing Lower Makefield paved path. In addition to stormwater improvements, which are closing up the existing curb opening along Dolington Road and installing an inlet and new storm sewer, we're proposing a pedestrian flashing lights at the crossing of North Main Street. Right now in our estimate, we have one side to be a 14-foot high pedestrian flasher. The other side will be a 30-foot high light pole with pedestrian flashing as well.
Thank you. So we're required to approve this resolution as part of our MTF grant application. So do I hear a motion to approve resolution 24-06?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Motion was made by Councilperson Finer, seconded by Councilperson Stump. Any discussion from council?
I would just like to add to just a few notes on this. One is I think it's great use of the flashing beacons in that spot because it's also where vehicles change in their speed limit from 35 to 25. And the light as well, I think, just helps to highlight and make the intersection safer. And it ties in very well with our North Main sidewalk and the Taylorsville Road sidewalk that Lower Mayfield is working on, which you'll hear about in a moment.
Thank you. Any other comments from council?
Question for RV. The cost, did you assume that this project would be done in conjunction with the Phase 3 and leveraging that cost, or are you costing this as a separate entity, start from scratch?
This is a separate project.
Okay. So you didn't assume that they'd be done at the same time?
Correct.
Mayor Hardy?
Is this, what's there now, I wouldn't call a sidewalk, right? Isn't it black kind of path there now?
That path is in Lower Makefield.
Yeah, it's a bituminous pavement.
So are we continuing the black path?
No, what we're proposing right now is a 5-foot wide sidewalk.
Is a black path less expensive than a 5-foot wide sidewalk? And I know I'm using the wrong term as black path, but.
Bike, I think it's called a bike path
An asphalt
currently.
path, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, traditionally, an asphalt path may be a little bit less expensive. However, there could be more maintenance items with the asphalt path.
Meaning what?
I mean, you have tree roots, you have more degradation regarding freeze-thaw with the bituminous path.
Do we know if any?
Chris, can I just jump in for a second? Just
Sure.
because I think, because we spent a lot of time in that spot.
Sure.
Ideally, 'cause I see where you're driving, it would be the multi-use path continue to the corner. The problem is that there's like this water thing there and it gets narrow. And we need 8 feet if we're going to make it multi-use. And there really isn't, like, if you look at the spot, you'll see there isn't really the space to have the 8 feet plus the required buffer to do the multi-use path. That's really the issue.
So what if it was 5 feet with the multi-use path material?
That is an option. I mean, right now, for this grant request, you could consider we're proposing a more expensive option.
Got it? Yep.
For that. So if the grant is received during our due diligence and during our design effort, we could look at, changing those material costs and what impact and what buffer do we have to the curb line as well.
And then could you one more last question, I apologize. Could you confirm the percentage of the grant and borough match on this grant that you're applying for?
This grant, again, this year is a zero match grant.
So what I'm hearing is this would be enough to engineer with a sidewalk, but we haven't engineered yet, and we could engineer with another material, which this would cover as well, as it would be less. Did I get that summary correct?
Yeah, regarding the substitution of a concrete or a paved trail, yeah, we could look into that further.
Thank you.
I had one other question. If the beacon that you're specking out in here, is it similar to one I think I saw in the summary of the Lower Makefield's sidewalk that we're going to do the letter to support them on, that they also are indicating a beacon further down across, I forget what street, but one of the streets down there. Do we know if we're specking out the similar?
It's going to be very similar, as this would be a traffic signal permit plan through PennDOT. So this would be reviewed through PennDOT, so we're utilizing PennDOT-related products for that specification.
It'd be good if they come out
Yeah.
identical, so there's people who are driving down, they don't feel like they get different kinds of signals.
So what we could do is just coordinate with the Lower Makefield team and see what they're considering, and coordinate that as well.
Okay.
Any other questions from council or the mayor?
Caroline, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll go there next. From the public? Yes, Mr. Ross, welcome back.
Lower Makefield resident. Yes, the beacons will be exactly the same. That was all. Anyone else? Any Lower Makefield related questions for me? All right, cool. I'll probably be back up shortly.
If anyone's wondering why we're laughing, former councilperson Ross used to sit up here with us, but he moved to Lower Makefield. No idea why he wanted to do that, but okay.
One more thing.
Yes, Mr. Feiner.
Yes, one more item. Just that the next item here is about us providing a letter to Lower Makefield, but likewise, we would like a letter from Lower Makefield in support of our Dolington extension. And it's just really exciting to be working together. We're kind of really one community in so many ways, and we're much stronger when we do this. So I'm really happy to see that happening here.
Any other public comment on this item on the MTF grant? Hearing none, I will call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 7-0. Next up is the letter of support for LMT Sidewalk Project. Mr. Foley?
Thank you. Lower Makefield's design team reached out to me discussing the Taylorsville Road Sidewalk Project, which is an extension of our North Main Street Sidewalk Project. What they're requesting is a letter of support from Yardley Borough, as a portion of their project is within the borough limits. Just a few highlights for this project is the project will start at McKinley Avenue. It'll continue north on the east side of Taylorsville Road, and it ends at and crosses Taylorsville Road to Highland Drive. Lower Makefield's project involves work within the borough. They're proposing to discharge utilizing existing outfall into the canal, and that'll be within the footprint of McKinley Avenue, the storm sewer work as well. They'll be addressing stormwater related issues of Taylorsville Road, utilizing curb and sidewalk as well. And then the portion of disturbance work within McKinley will be resurfaced as well.
Thank you. So I do have a form letter that's suggested to be submitted as a letter of support sent to the PA Department of Community and Economic Development. I will read it so that you know what you're voting to send or not. To whom it may concern, please be informed that Yardley Borough is aware of the Taylorsville Road improvement project proposed by Lower Meekfield Township. The scope of the work will extend from the intersection of Highland Drive and Taylorsville Road, continuing south into McKinley Avenue, a road owned by the borough. The proposed work that will occur within the borough includes the construction of a sidewalk and curb along Taylorsville Road, the installation of a stormwater sewer along McKinley Avenue, as well as the milling and repaving of McKinley Avenue. This proposed project builds upon a Yardley Borough initiative to enhance pedestrian access to the borough's shops and restaurants by extending the North Main Street sidewalk along Taylorsville Road. Thank you in advance for your attention concerning this matter. Should you have any questions or like additional information, please feel free to contact our office, and the phone number is given, and the signatory on this would be Manager Johnson. Do I hear a motion to send this letter as read?
So moved.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion was made by Councilperson, I think Applebaum had it by a hair, but probably because of the Zoom lag, and it was seconded by Councilperson Scherer. Any discussion from council? Any discussion from the public? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 7-0. Anything else, Mr. Foley?
No, that concludes my report.
Excellent, thank you. Solicitor's report, please, Mr. Griffin.
As Paula mentioned, we received a copy of the Phase 1 environmental for the Pico lot from RVE. My office has reviewed that report. There was no environmental concerns raised by the report. So pursuant to the agreement of sale, we forwarded that along to Pico. I had a discussion with their representative about scheduling closing. And pursuant to the agreement of sale, closing should occur before August 7th.
Thank you.
That concludes my report.
Any questions on that? Mayor's report, please.
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Excellent. Moving on to council member reports, starting with Councilperson Siegel Morris, please.
I'd just like to ask Gen Government and Community and Economic Development and Community Outreach to keep an eye out for some draft language for the special event permit, so people can weigh in and give suggestions or revisions. So keep an eye out for that email to come probably next week sometime.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Councilperson Finer.
Yeah, a couple of quick notes. One, I'll just mention, just to tag on to what Manager Johnson said about the environmental report for the Pico lot. So far, from what I've seen, so far so good. So that's good news. The North Main Street sidewalk, Phase 3, it took longer to finalize the grant than what we had initially expected, but there's enough buffer built into the milestones plan that we're still on track. Next thing regarding the Mary Yardley Bridge, the punch list is being completed on that. Some work on the ramp as well as on the trail, and thank you to Jared for going out there and making videos and posting and working on signage so that people know what's going on, because it will be out of service for a couple of periods, and I won't get into detail on that. The last thing on my list is the North Main property that is being donated to the borough. We're calling that now Judy's Garden to honor the late wife of the property donor. It's a nice name, and there are a lot of people who are part of her community that would love to volunteer to help maintain that space. And we're looking to having that be on the zoning calendar in September, and hoping to get some neighbors from the area to support that. Of course, it's far preferable for them to have a garden there than to have a house. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilperson Finer. Councilperson Carlson.
General government, obviously, we're pulling together the the budget for next year, and that'll work out all right. And we also are working on the short-term rental draft ordinance, and hope to have that available. The first pass at it, hope to have something available at either the August or the September meeting. And then finally, on sewer, a project of upgrading sewers lines is finally getting close to going out to bid. So work will actually begin on that in 2025. And I'm the liaison to the sewer, and we've agreed that they're going to, a communication plan is going to be very important. And so there's going to be connections to our website, et cetera, so everyone will know what's going on and when construction will occur. But look for it probably next spring is when it'll start. That's all I have.
Excellent, thank you. Councilperson Applebaum.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank my colleague, Don Carlson, for his great work with the short-term rentals, as I am the chair for community and economic development, and he's been tasked with that, and I just want to say thank you for that. Secondly, today at 6 o'clock, we had our inaugural Environmental Advisory Committee meeting after it had been dormant for some time. I'm extremely excited by not only the fact that we have reignited this committee to be tasked with tasked into protecting our environment and ecology within this community, but also excited about the people that have joined the committee, a certain level of professionalism. We have teachers, scientists, policy people, and in addition to that, as you know, we've been working with Spearhead Project Earth, who was also in attendance tonight, to offer additional ideas while we were brainstorming projects that the committee would like to follow through on, and I am just again excited about what the future holds, because there's a lot of work to be done. But in addition to that, I have made contact with the Morrisville Environmental Advisory Committee, and today I found out that there is also a connection with the LMT Environmental Advisory Committee, to show that in addition to the work that we've been doing in public works, that there's a lot of camaraderie and being able to collaborate between all the communities, because what's good for LMT and Morrisville is good for Yardley, what's good for Yardley is good for LMT and Morrisville, and so on. So I like to, since Matt's in the audience, to thank you for being amenable to these kind of discussions, because I think it's important for everyone along this corridor. And that is all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Councilperson Scherer.
I attended the Yardley Makefield Fire Company meeting. I substituted, and I really have a lot of admiration for the fire department, who works very hard all the time trying to figure out where to get money from and how to be able to finance their
Operation.
Their operation, thank you.
Yeah, so as background for folks, there was a meeting, and the borough was invited to talk about kind of the future of the fire department as an all-volunteer or not all-volunteer, as the case may be.
Yes, they really are struggling, because I think there are very few volunteer fire departments left in the country. And I think probably, eventually we'll have to go to probably a paid, because you just can't get volunteers for, not just that, for anything. It's just very hard to get people to volunteer now. They're not able to, and when they can, they work too far away, and it just, I admire them. They're very They worked very hard to try to keep it going. But it was interesting, and I support them.
Thank you for attending. I appreciate that. Councilperson Stump.
Alrighty. So the first thing I want to report is that we have finished the parking map, made several revisions that we talked about in the working session. So thank you for those. We're going to work with Manager Johnson in the coming days, weeks, to get that posted online on the borough website, wherever else we want to distribute it. Another thing that Manager Johnson and I are working on, I actually noticed a couple weeks ago that well, I'll back up a little bit. So something I've been kind of working on just as a resident before I was even on council is the amount of trash in Buttonwood Park where our trash cans overflow after a weekend and aren't emptied till Wednesday. So I've noticed that, and I've been I was in to talk with Paul a few times, and we were working on some creative solutions. But a couple weeks ago, I noticed at the annex that we actually have the steel frames that are the most expensive element. We have 2 of those that are spares, and so just to let everyone on council know so there's no surprises, Paul and I are working on pricing out what it would cost to get those installed, and I'm going to be working on potentially some creative funding for that so that we could possibly present that to council and see what we think about it before the end of the year. And then if not, we could look at getting it in the 2025 budget. But I think 2 extra trash cans will make a difference if we strategically place them. So we have a few ideas on that. So just wanted to let you guys know that's coming down the pipeline. Andrew Johnson and I have also been working on different communications things, like, for example, the trail closure coming up, working to make the public aware of what's going on. And so appreciate all of our work on that. It is a bit of a process to try to streamline our communications and make sure we're utilizing everything effectively, but we are making progress there. I should have shared this during community announcements, but I'll say it now since I'm the liaison to Yardley Business Association. They are having an event. They're doing several events a year that are moving around to various places in the borough. Anyone is welcome to come. The next event is a week from today, July 23rd, from 6 to 8 p.m. It's held at FZ Works. They're going to have a speaker, Justin Gall, an operating principal broker with Keller Williams, who's going to be speaking on the topic of leadership that makes an impact, how we can increase effectiveness for those we lead. Unfortunately, I'll be in Atlanta next week, but I don't know. Maybe I'll have to fly home for that. That sounds interesting. So anyway, if anybody's interested in that, and it is open to anybody, you don't have to be a business owner to attend. I would highly encourage that as well. The last thing I have to share is I noticed on Sunday at the tot lot that someone, I'm assuming a young person, took the liberty of decorating the entire tot lot with sidewalk chalk. So all of the equipment, part of the mural actually, the posts on the fence, there's chalk everywhere. Some of it is on the equipment under cover to where I don't think it'll wash off in the rain. I'll probably take a look on my way home. So, David, would you like to say something about that?
Yes, I would.
Did you do it?
First of all, it wasn't me. Secondly, the person who does the remediation for graffiti, if we call him, he'll be happy to go and clean it.
Is that yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, we have somebody who does that?
Yes.
Hi.
Yes. In fact, it's called TAG, Towns Against Graffiti.
Okay.
And I can.
So we are a member of TAG as of last year.
Oh, okay.
And
Alrighty.
today, anytime we call them about graffiti, they come and clean it
So
up.
we don't even have to do it ourselves. They go and take care of
And
it.
chalk is considered graffiti, which I did not know before
I'd
we were
just
members.
like to add, I'm so sorry, Councilman Stump, but I'd like to add that Spearhead Global, the company, donated the $1,500 for the cost of membership in TAG.
Wonderful.
Therefore, there was no cost to the taxpayer for that. For
Wonderful.
this year's membership.
That's awesome. Well, no, I'm glad I brought it up at the meeting because I wasn't aware of that, and now I am.
Thank you for doing so, 'cause I
And
didn't-
it's funny, I had to tag on what Council President Thompson said. I actually had the same thought as I was just kind of looking at it. This is kind of like graffiti. It probably wasn't the same level of maliciousness, I'm sure. But it certainly has made it to where you couldn't really utilize the equipment. And so that's wonderful that we're able to get it taken care of.
I'll help you get that.
And the last chalk.
You cut out.
By the park had hate speech on it, so
Really?
The chalk, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
It had hate speech, yeah, and they removed that like within a day. It was
Wonderful.
chalk sounds harmless, but it can be harmful.
There was no hate speech here. It was just very, very, very colorful. Very colorful. Anyway, that concludes my report.
Thank you. I did want to add one thing, not to your report, separately from my report.
That's fine.
Thank you for your report, Councilperson Stump. So Paula, Manager Johnson and I met with Lisa Murphy, who's with the Governor's Center for Local Government Services. We applied for a MAP grant to cover our comprehensive plan for 2025. This is the third grant that we've written in-house and the first grant that we've written without any prior year's grant as a template, so we were flying a little bit blind. We did not receive the funding, and Paula followed up and asked if they would give us feedback on why we were unsuccessful, and they were very happy to do that. It's going to become part of our standard operating procedures when we are rejected for a grant to follow up with a call and solicit feedback. We talked for over 30 minutes. They gave a lot of constructive feedback on how we could be more successful with the application in the future. We also, based on postings online, we're operating under the assumption that there was a cap at $15,000, which a lot of comprehensive plans cost upwards of $45,000. So it wasn't going to cover a comprehensive plan with many of the vendors. And she corrected the record on that and said there's actually no cap, although obviously there is a funded pot of money that they need to divvy up. So smaller projects can sometimes squeak in where larger ones have more competition. So it was a great call, and we will report back as we aim to redraft that application before the September deadline. All right, anything else that anyone would like to bring up under discussion items this evening that's not on the agenda?
I just mentioned that the Mary Yardley Bridge is going to be getting worked on again starting actually the 18th and the 19th. The trail and the bridge is going to be closed because we have to paint the ramp that's leading to the bridge on the North Main Street side. And then some of the final grading and stuff and work on the towpath is going to be on the 23rd, so it's going to be closed again. So if everybody can throw on their Facebook pages, Jared and I are working on a blast to get out, just so everybody knows, so people aren't disappointed when they go to ride their bike over the bridge and they have to turn around and go elsewhere. So it's the 18th and 19th, it's going to be closed because of painting, and then the 23rd is going to be closed because of work being done on the canal side.
And to clarify on that, Manager Johnson, if you don't mind, the 18th and 19th, that is just the bridge and the path to the North Main Street sidewalk.
Correct.
And then the 23rd, that's going to be the entire canal in that area on the east side, the Delaware River side of the Mary Yardley Bridge. Will that also include the bridge itself and the pathway as well on the 23rd?
There's nowhere you can go on the other side.
Right, you would just go across the bridge and make a U-turn. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, other business. We have Borough Hall roof temporary repairs. Who would like to take this item? Manager Johnson, please.
I wrote up in your agenda packet a little bit about our police roof that I mentioned ad nauseum at council meetings. We did contact a roofer who came out and gave us a quote to get a total redo. That was approximately $75,000, but then they did offer to do a temporary repair that they are confident will get us at least a year, if not a little bit more. They're going to seal a lot of the cracks, check all the caulking and everything, and hopes to make it stop raining on, wow, we got some lightning, on the sergeant's office. So I am asking council for the approval to do a temporary fix, not to exceed $5,000 on the roof, which is the flat roof over top of the police department.
And do you have a proposal for where the money will come from for that, not to exceed $5,000?
In our current emergency fund, our balance is $91,000, and our capital reserve balance is approximately $242,000. We do have to use a little bit of this for purchasing the Pico lot, which will get reimbursed with a grant. And either one of those funds, I think, would be fine.
Okay. Okay, so let's, if anyone would like to make a motion, I would suggest we pick where it's being pulled from, just for clarity's sake. It seems like an emergency to me if we have rain coming into the police department. So if someone would like to make a motion to pull up to $5,000 from the emergency fund to patch the roof.
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Motion was made by Councilperson Siegel Morris, second by Councilperson Scherer. Discussion?
Just a quick question. You said that they can only guarantee the temporary repair work for 1 year,
A year, yes.
but do they think it may last a little longer?
A little bit longer. It's not going to be like a 2 or 3 years. But he says it should be a little bit longer than a year.
And so we need to start working on finding funding for the approximate amount of $75,000.
Right, and that quote, it's getting old.
So Councilperson Finer, Manager Johnson, and myself have been talking about this building. It's come up a lot in terms of its aging. It doesn't just need a roof, it needs many things. Our plumbing's aging, et cetera, windows. It's not an accessible building by any means. So we're throwing around the idea of putting together a special committee, a small committee that would just work on applying for grants, brainstorming, visioning for this building. And I think we'll probably be ready to announce what that might look like at our next meeting.
Right. And Pat's also looking as well if there's any kind of grants out there. So we've been talking about it as well. So it is a hot topic, and it's something that's, I think, very needed. No worries.
Quickly, before the temporary repairs.
I'll also just add that, can you guys hear me? Am I audible?
Yes.
I can't quite tell. Okay. There are things like the roof, and actually back when the Mary Yardley Bridge came up, when she realized it was rotting out, there are these assets that the borough has that have some sort of level of predictability of decay, maybe in the next 10 years, 20 years. At some point, when somebody's bored and has nothing to do, I think it'd be very useful for us to begin to inventory what those assets are that wear out, maybe the ones that might come up for attention in the next 10 years, so we can do a little bit more long-term planning on that. Because when something like a 20-year or 30-year roof or bridge comes up suddenly, whoever's on council then is like stuck with this bill. And it could help just create some planning around it before we get to a point where we're in this uh-oh situation.
Thank you. Councilperson Applebaum, I think maybe if you turn that mic that you're sharing towards you.
Oh, sorry.
That might be why you weren't heard, but please.
Thank you. What it would be to turn around once we approve the money?
He'll have to get into a schedule. I'll get in touch with him first thing tomorrow, and I'll let you all know.
Okay, because I
It
have.
sounds like pretty quick.
Because I have an umbrella I was going to lend the sergeant.
Okay. I'll make sure he knows that.
He won't like my joke, but.
Could they get the repair done before the storm that's approaching us? Okay, great.
Run out there and mark it off.
I'm sorry.
Yes, you, go
I
ahead.
add something briefly.
Sure.
It's not just the leak, the water itself. I mean, there's like secondary damage as a result of it.
Right.
There's a musty smell in there. Every rainfall, we got to run dehumidifiers. There's likely mold and mildew forming somewhere. I'm sure it's doing damage to the woodwork, to the drywall, and damaging like equipment. I know the sergeant has had a whole bunch of books that he had warped and destroyed by it. So, I mean, it's.
Actually, I just wanted to add, in all seriousness, that Ori myself had done a tour of the facility and saw the damage, and it was quite concerning, and we did actually take note of that. Additionally, I noticed in this document it said something about a supply closet, but did that mean the supply closet and or the where the servers are located? Do you know, the computer servers?
No.
I'm unaware of any leaks in the server room. I think the supply closet they're referring to is the one where we keep our radios and a bunch of other equipment. It's off to the side of my office, but it's all around where that threshold is.
Yeah.
Anytime we get serious rain, it pours down there. I mean, like it's like loud, like it like really comes down if we get it.
Yeah, so,
Set up trash cans and,
yeah.
you know.
So we took that pretty seriously. I'm sorry for my stupid joke, but I was just very concerned about the electronics and of course, any personal property.
Yeah, and it's possible that electronics could become damaged at some point.
Yeah, so, yeah, I support that.
Sounds like an emergency to me. Any other comments from anyone? Yes, Councilperson Scherer.
I think this is way overdue.
Yes.
And I just would like to publicly say that, like, that we should almost be ashamed of ourselves for letting it go this long, and it should have been taken care of before now. And I think we need to do whatever we have to do to get it done ASAP, not only the temporary, but the permanent. Because, as Sergeant said, everything is being ruined in the meantime, and you're just going to pay more and more and more and more for, like, mold remediation and all that. So I think we need to make sure that it gets on the budget and we find a way to pay for it, because it just, we can't just say we can't afford it. It's just not, that's not the answer.
Sure, agreed. Thank you. Any other comments from council?
Yeah, I've been in there twice this year. I've seen firsthand the damage, and I've seen the damage get worse, and I'm in 100% in support of this.
Thank you. Any comments from the public? Hearing none, I will call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 7-0. At this time, we will be adjourning into executive session. There will be no vote after executive session. Thank you. Sorry, the purpose of the executive session is to discuss litigation. I think I need to say that